we're back. It's time to look at round 2 of the Thanksgiving Open. Sorry for taking so long with these, by the way. It's just that one of my main takeaways from this last tournament was that you not only have to be like good at chess to be good at chess, but you also have to be in good shape. Because like if you have poor stamina, it's gonna be hard to play a game for 6 hours. Kind of regardless of how good you are, if your opponent is like of equal or greater skill than you. So like the thing I've actually been focusing on the most since I played in this tournament has been like my physical health. I've been exercising it again, and I decided I need to get jacked if I also want to be an NM this year, or 2026. Who knows, maybe these videos will come out in 2026. Just kidding. But like, you understand. That's why Magnus plays soccer. That's exactly right. 1 hour game reviews also require stamina. This is true. Alright. So, as I stated in the last one, I didn't know my opponents. I'm playing in like a newer state. Like I've been here for 2 years. But I don't really know these people yet. And plus there are some people from out of town. Ratings were not shown on pairing. So I was trying to take advantage of that by just playing chess and not knowing who I'm playing or what their rating is, because allegedly that's good for you. This is only good if you're not, during the time you're supposed to be thinking about the game, you're not then using that time to try to guess what your opponent's rating is based on things that have nothing to do with the game. And this is like the thing I was doing for some reason. So like I'm paired with this guy and I'm like, I swear I recognize this guy's name from somewhere, but I don't know where. I don't know who this guy is. And again, I was thinking maybe I was on the bottom half the first round, so maybe I'm playing up this round. This wasn't true. And then also, this person who I did know was an NM, was watching this game the whole time. He kept coming over and peering over my opponent's shoulder. And so I was like, oh, they must be old friends. They must both be masters, and I'm playing a master. Alright, so d4, knight f6, c4, g6. Let me turn off the computer here. Knight f3, bishop g7, g3. This is what I do. I put my pawns in the center, and I make a little house for my bishop, and then I put the bishop in the house, and I castle. That's all I know about chess. Castles, bishop g2, d6, castles, knight d7. So, okay, knight c3 also. This is all like extremely normal. So he goes e5. And again, I'm thinking I'm playing a master. And I don't really want to get positions, and he's also like an older gentleman of around probably like 60. So I'm thinking I'm playing a guy who's played a King's Indian his whole life and like knows how it works. So I didn't want to play like main lines necessarily, or even the older main lines. Like e4 is the move that you play here. But I wanted to play something, I wanted to do something different. Not necessarily good, but different. I changed my hair or something. That's either a really old comment or a very observant comment. I will not elaborate. But, I will admit that this move was not good. 1 week ago? Okay, that's very observant. I've just been, like, trying to, fix it. I'm like scamming myself by buying products and stuff and then using them. But if you can tell that it's already better, then maybe it's working. Very woman. All right, I played the move d5, and here's my point. The horsey's gonna come to c5, of course. It can't really come there right now because I'll play b4 and it has to go back, and I'm happy because I gain space with time. My point is just get a more unfamiliar position. And again, let me get my score sheets. I need details on how much time is being spent, so I don't just make things up. This is move 8. I spent like 2 minutes on this move. It was probably kind of the way I've been doing puzzles lately, where I'm like, this looks alright, I'll do it. I'm not gonna really check it that hard. So he goes a5. This is the move that you would play if you want to put the knight on c5, of course. And now I go for knight e1. And again, I'm just trying to play moves and try to get a position he's never had before, a position I've never had before, and then play chess with my opponent. So the idea is clear. Of course, if a knight is just allowed to sit on c5, I think I'm worse. Or not worse, but like black has accomplished quite a lot. If he gets f5 in, like, even if I do get e4 in, he's going to try to break me open immediately, and all of his pieces make plenty of sense. But I'm trying to come up with clever ideas. So he goes knight c5. I could go knight d3 right away, but I had kind of a cracked out idea here. So what I didn't like about knight d3 is he just goes knight d7, and now I can't ever really eliminate that knight, because if I take it, it just reappears. And I don't want to trade this knight for this knight. So I was sitting there and I was thinking about, like, okay, well, I probably thought about this before I played knight e1, because knight c5, a5 and knight c5 are so obvious. So my idea was actually to kind of sacrifice the bishop pair very early, and the point being, like, yeah, whatever he does on the next move, I'll take on f6 and I'll play knight d3, and either he has to take, or I take and I fracture his pawns. And because this is generally going to be a more closed position, I didn't really think this would be such a big deal. Someone asks, is knight e4 not a move? Like where? Like what position? Like here? Like knight e4 here? Where? Oh, after knight d7? My knight to e4? I'll just take whatever you take back if I play f5, and then your knight has to move, and then I play knight c5. And you're probably gonna get crushed. So again, that's like, giving him space with time. So that's not ideal. So I go bishop g5, and he kicks me away, and I'm happy with this. I was actually pretty happy with this idea. I didn't know if it was good or not, but what I did know is I was talking to some student about this, like, this general boat structure, where, there's no, like, clear, pure weakness. This square's not a pure weakness because you can always kick something out of it, technically. But if you do, then b6 and d6 get weakened, which is like kind of a common theme. So like the b5 square is still quite a juicy one because it targets c7. And if you ever want to kick the knight out of there, then you either create like a semi-open file on the d-pawn, or you just hang the d-pawn or weaken it. So this is kind of like what my idea was based upon. And he takes on d3, which I'm happy with, because he develops I don't have to spend a move connecting my rooks, because he did it for me. And I wanted those knights traded off anyways. And he kind of surprised me. He played bishop f5, which I sort of thought would be bad, because I wanted to play e4. And he's just letting me do it with a tempo. But it could be argued, I think we were both having opposing ideas about the position, where he thought e4 as an inclusion was bad for me, and I thought it was good for me. So he did, like, some master stuff where he wants the bishop on d7 to eye the knight on b5 and connect the rooks, but if he does it in one move, I don't necessarily have to play e4, but if he does it like this, then I was forced to play e4. But then from my stupid perspective, I was like, hell yeah, I got e4 in with a tempo. Who was right? I don't know. Probably him. So I go knight b5. The idea is clear. The knight on c7. His bishop pair, like, it doesn't seem like it's really helping him all that much, because it's a closed position, and my knight is quite good. If he ends up trading this off, this would be kind of a really bad positional decision for my opponent. So I double my pawns. However, I'm left with a semi-open file and a target on c7. Now c7 might as well be just like a pure weakness because it can never be pushed because I have such a lockdown on the c6 square. Meanwhile, the rest of his pawns are like on dark squares and he's left with this dark squared bishop. You could argue my light squared bishop is not good either, but the point is I have something to play for far more than he does. Sometimes I'll even play the move b6. Sometimes. Yeah, their bishop is bad. My bishop's not that great either, but you know, he doesn't have an semi-open file. So taking would always be a mistake in my mind. I didn't check this with the computer. In my mind, taking on b5 is a mistake. And otherwise, now he has to come up with a move to defend c7, either by bringing one of the rooks to c7 or playing queen d8. c6 I don't think is really ever working because after d takes c6, I don't know, you take with something. Taking with the pawn is just like not fighting at all because you're not even attempting, I don't know, a tempo on the queen. And then I take on d6 and I'm up a pawn and I get an outpost. And I fix the knight in there and I'm happy. So taking shouldn't be that great. Shouldn't black have just played rook a to c7 and play for f5 break? So he's saying rook a rook c8, a rook c8. What do you mean by that? Rook a to c7 here and play for f5. Yeah, I mean that's fine. The thing is, I think he might want to keep the rook here because, okay, my idea is expand on the queen side. It's the King's Indian still, kind of. I should try to get some queenside play. He can try to attack me on the queen side. I might die. It's just kind of a risk you have to take. But if I want to get b4 in, I need to play the move a3. But in a lot of cases, if you play a3 when the rook is on a8, so like, say he uses this rook, for example, and I play a3, now black just plays a4, fixing my pawn exactly where it is, because I can't play b4 because I just get en passanted, and then black has a semi-open file. And this move is really hard to get in. It's not that hard, I could probably still do it, but so a common way to get around this is playing b3, then a3, then b4, so that if a4 ever happens, I'm not going to play a3, obviously. I'll play b4, and then again, if he takes, I'm sort of happy here with just the semi-open file. So that would be a benefit of maybe having the a rook there, because after a3, a4 here, maybe I could try to attack the pawn somehow, but he can always go back. No. Yeah, queen c2 here, and you can't go back because c7 hangs. Of course, if you take, then I'm happy. And you still have to go back. So it's like I agree that it would be better to activate or keep this, I don't know. I think we're discovering why he played the move that he played. Having the rook on f8 supports f5, so kind of the only logical move left is queen d8. Which is what he played, and I just assumed I was better here. I don't know why. That's just something I do now, is in every position I have, I assume that I'm better, or even winning, which has yielded me quite good results because, I don't know, it doesn't help to think that you're losing. Because if you play, I don't know, sometimes it does help. I don't know anything, I'm just telling you what I was thinking. There's always a chance people forget about en passant. That's true. But, yeah, I thought my knight was pretty decent. I just go ahead with rook a to c1, because this is going to be an essential part of my plan. For the same reasons that black doesn't want to play rook c8, I don't want to play rook f to c1. Maybe I'll go for f4. It's a lot less likely I'll go for f4, because, I mean, it's complicated, right? Like, he'll take and he'll get his bishop open, but this is another reason why this rook is better, because if I get f4 in and this diagonal opens, it would be nice to just have the rook out of the way so I can push the b pawn. So rook c1 just felt correct, because worst case scenario, yes, he gets an open diagonal for his bishop, and then the bishop pair feels felt. But if there's nothing on the diagonal, it's not such a big deal. So I go rook a to c1 to support, eons in the future, c5. And also further denying him the possibility to take my knight. b6, b3, 5. And again, I'm playing b3 in order to play a3, in order to play b4, in order to play c5. Long term. My opponent goes f5, and his idea is clear. He wants to checkmate me. I, being who I am, was not afraid of this at all, and was like, what are you going to do, checkmate me? I just didn't believe him, so I played a3. Opponent goes f4. And here I played a move that I loved. I think the computer hated it and thought I was an idiot. But I liked it. Again, I'm still in my delusions here. Let's do a quick time check. We both had 73 minutes, so we're staying about the same on time. I spend about 4 minutes on this move. So you know how I am. I like to be flexible. I like to make, almost no commitments if I don't have to. And anytime I can make a multi-purpose move, I would like to do it. I'm not afraid of taking ever, because I just take back with the h-pawn and attack is over. I'm afraid of g5, g4, maybe. I don't know what I'm afraid of. Are you good at chess? Not at all, but I do like to play chess. I think rook c1 is a potential waste of tempo. Waste of tempo. A file will open up eventually. So I think I know what you're trying to say. I thought, okay, what are the things that are happening in this position? c5 is the main plan for white with c5. And the c file in general. However, I'm getting attacked. It is quite possible that I'll need to play the move f3 at some point. Like if g5, g4 gets in, I really kind of would rather he doesn't get f3 in. So self-service principle of pawns, maybe I should play f3. But then the second rank is slightly weak. So I played the move rook c2, which I thought was a good shapes and colors move because it's super flexible. Not only am I maybe going to be able to double on the c file, but I'm actually a lot closer to doubling on any file. Like kind of what you said in the chat, if a file opens, maybe I'm ready to put 2 rooks on that file. You could have gone b3 one move earlier. So you're saying b3, a3, b4, and then you want the a file to be open, which is definitely one way to do it. I think it was just because I wanted the option to play f4, and leaving the rook here makes f4 not an option. So again, increasing the choices that I have, which is, I'm not saying rook c1 is right, this is just my thought process behind rook c1. Okay, so rook c2, I really liked, because now like I'm sort of prepared for an attack. I always have the additional idea of pushing the f-pawn with defense if he gets a bunch of pieces up in my business here, and I'm also flexible in a lot of different ways. So I like rook c1. I don't think the computer liked it very much. What should I have played here? So the computer's way to counter these ideas is to just play bishop f3. Which makes sense when you see it. Like if g5, queen e2, And then the idea is no more pawn pushes. The light squares are not for you. Was good. Excellent. Do I have... Hold on. I never added the chat box to the screen. And if queen c7, queen e7? What? Yeah, we're reviewing my games from the Thanksgiving Open. To help Chief. I don't really know. Do you mean queen c8? Is that what you mean? Yeah, I mean, this is another idea. I don't know. I can't defend the computer's ideas super well because they're not my ideas. All I can do is read you the computer lines, but I don't know. That's the basic. It's not a great position, is the moral of the story. But neither person knew exactly the evaluation during the game. We didn't have access to that during the game. So rook c2 we go, black plays queen c8 anyways. And here I thought I was really smart. And I wasn't, unfortunately. Again, you know, I've been learning this lesson kind of over and over the last few weeks that I'm objectively not very smart. And this is just one result of that. I thought, I'll just take this, and if pawn takes, there's nothing on this diagonal. And now, because there's no pawn on g3, bishop h3 is not a threat because the queen defends laterally. And in addition to that, I still have the idea of just playing f3 and freezing everything where it is. Additionally, g6 can be weak. Sometimes I'll just play the move e5, threatening to clamp down or maybe win a pawn like this, and if bishop takes, I take his king's open. Also, because the g-pawn doesn't exist anymore, I thought king h1, and maybe I will actually attack him. These were all of my ideas. And then my opponent played rook takes, and I was like, oh, I didn't really think about that. But alas, still, maybe I get something, but honestly, I don't know what to tell you. This is again, like, the biggest issue I had in this tournament was not necessarily not being able to make decisions, but fighting the urge to not fighting the desire to not think. Does that make sense? Like when you're not practiced in this in a while, sometimes you know that you should be thinking in certain positions and you just really don't feel like it, and a big part of the battle is forcing yourself to think at the correct times. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. But alright, but I played b4. I'm still thinking my position is great. A takes b4, A takes b4, bishop f6, and I go f3, which apparently is the first dubious move of the game. So even g takes f4 was not that bad, and dubious is not that bad either. This bishop's not very good. I will say that. But I was very confident in my idea of c5, especially now that the queen is on c8. It kind of makes everything worse because of pins, you know? And I just truly didn't believe him. I thought if I got a pawn here, it's such a long-term advantage for me. Or, you know, that's best case scenario for him. Bishop g5, kind of showing, I think the basic idea, the reason f3 is bad, is because now the plan of rook h4 and bishop f4 is sort of difficult to stop. I might have to play a bishop h1. h3 is difficult to play now because I actually blocked the square that I, you know, opened. previously. But I'm not really thinking about any of that. Let's see how much time I have here. F3, bishop g5. Yeah, I'm spending like 1 to 2 minutes per move, so c5. I'm apparently feeling very confident. B takes c5, B takes c5, and queen a6. Setting up some vague tactics, but not really. I didn't think long here. I thought c6 was sort of obvious. Bishop has to come to c8, which is just ugly. And my only issue now is that my knight is pinned, so it's difficult to do things here. But if this pawn falls, he's just positionally close to losing, I would say. So I just go with king h1 because I'm worried about any sort of checks in the future. This is pure prophylaxis. Rook b8. Rook b1 is forced. He's building up on the pin. Queen b6. And then here is... This position is, like, equal now. I still like white by a lot. But this was probably one of the lazier things I've done in recent time in a classical game. Or just... I don't know, the thought process was, like, very nearly pure nonsense, if that makes sense. Alright, so chat, the first thing you have to think about here is, why can't I play knight c3? Because if knight c3 works, I'm winning. Right? Knight c3, skewering everything. And if the rook, or if the queen comes to a7 to defend the rook, now the knight is here, covering these squares. So maybe I can play rook a2 or something. If takes, and his queen's like close to trapped. Maybe I get checkmated on the dark squares. Maybe I just win this bishop. I don't know. So why can't I play knight c3? And I need full lines, please. Or can I? If the answer is you can, then you should. God, how much time did I spend on this move? However long it wasn't enough. Only 5 minutes. I should have spent more time there. Oh, also, by the way, around this time, again, the metagaming got out of control. I remembered where I knew this person's name from. I went crazy looking for this because I could have sworn, but I'm like 90% sure this person was my first boyfriend's chess coach. This back when I didn't know you were supposed to like your boyfriend and that if they liked you, you just are supposed to date them. And I was like 14 and he was like 17. And he was like 1300 or 1100. He sucked. And I didn't like him. Anyways, it's all very embarrassing. But I'm pretty sure this guy was his chess coach because I had to hear this fucking name all the time. He just talked about this person all the time and how good he was. And then one time I played him in a blitz tournament in Kansas. And I beat him at least once, maybe twice if it was double rounds. And I was like maybe 18, 1900 at the time. And I was like, yeah, you know, that was back when I was a blitz specialist. But this just kept cementing into my head that he must be a master if all that was true. And again, this other master is looking at the game periodically. We'll have a big reveal at the end why that was. All right, let's look at these full lines. Knight c3. Queen takes b1, knight takes b1, rook takes b1. Bishop f1. Rook takes f1. King g2. Rook 4 takes f3. Well, then I take twice when I'm up in exchange because I still have this rook on c2. So that would work. That would work out well for white. So queen takes c1, knight takes c1, rook takes c1, bishop f1. What other lines do we have here? Bishop h3. Yeah, bishop h3. And then I saw rook f2, and I'm like, oh, I'm attacking his rook. And then I stopped thinking, which is insane, by the way. I just stopped. I was like, oh, I'm attacking his rook, which is not a real thought. That's not a complete thought. Like, you would see, oh, I'm attacking his rook. Then what happens when he moves his rook? What is he still threatening? Count the material, reevaluate the position. Like, all of these steps that you should do after a calculation, I just didn't do, and I was like, oh, I'm attacking his rook. And I played knight c3. And we went from an equal position. Let's see, we went from plus 0.3 for me to minus 2.5. But then, like, after one blunder, you continue to blunder. So, like, takes, bishop f1. And then he just plays rook c1. And then it was at this point where I was like, oh, I didn't finish thinking. And now I'm lost. Because there's a real simple plan now. Bishop h4, attacking the rook. And if the rook goes away, the bishop goes away, the queen goes away, the king goes away. And there's no way to prevent this. I mean, I just, like, fully just went blunder mode here, just not seeing things. Queen b5, just... I kind of felt like I had to try rook g2 here, but then I convinced myself I could maybe get away with something else. But, like, I have to do this. I have to break the pin. And after bishop takes g2, king takes g2. He's got 2 rooks for the queen. They're not super well coordinated, but also my dark squares are in quite dire straits. But maybe I don't lose this. Maybe I can hang on. I mean, I should be losing, but maybe I don't lose. But then I think I thought, how long did I think and then blunder again? That's how it goes. I thought for like 11 minutes here. Queen d2. Yeah, there was something wrong with this. It's not that, because he could just take. Oh, yeah, so he goes like... It was something really fucked up. No, that line doesn't work. Rook takes f3. I think he goes here, right? White's winning. So it wasn't that. It was something like weird and dancey, I remember, but I can't remember like the concept. And now here? I mean, this is winning as well, but I feel like it had something to do with some sort of dance. I guess not. This was my idea, like, because now the rook no longer. And if he takes this rook, I take back this rook. He's gonna get zugged. The point is I'm losing. That's the point. And none of this really matters, truly. So I played like 2 moves, and then I like I forgot that he just takes here, and I resigned here, I think. So I don't know, like, this game I feel was interesting, but I was never really better. I mean, at the very best, the position I blundered in, I was like very, very, very slightly better if I play a normal move, like something normal. Um, which is hard for me to believe. For some reason, I still like white here, which I guess is just crazy. Maybe the issue is there's no way for me to actually get him. Hello, Don Mahogi. Game 3 of Chicago Open. No, this is Game 2 of Thanksgiving Open. Very informative. Well, I'm glad that you feel that way. So yeah, I mean, I just kind of like lost because I had like a fourth of a thought, and then I followed it to the end without finishing my singular thought. Ooh, the rook's attacked. That's not anything. So again, yeah, I was talking to Anushka about this. She played in the under 1800 section, and it feels like the strat, like sometimes you just kind of have to warm up, and then like you play better in the rest of the tournament when you're rusty. Like I didn't do any prep for this. I haven't played since Chicago. Didn't have openings. I didn't even have like a fun opening or like an idea planned like I did for Chicago. I just kind of showed up and it was mostly for fun. But we think that the best strat is to play in one of these like rinky-dink tournaments, like the week before a big tournament. Like warm up at the rinky-dink and then play in a big tournament. I don't know. It gets a lot better from here. The rest of the games are all good. So, like, as I said, like, maybe I just had to warm up and I was rusty and wasn't being disciplined in where to think, or just, like, am not used to having to think as much as you have to think in chess. I just am not used to it. I don't know. I forgot to reveal. What do we think his rating was? Because I was thinking that this was an NM. Because he also, like, found the queen sack. Like, he found it. I mean, I guess I kind of... I basically forced my opponent to find the queen sack. Like, I think he probably saw it regardless. Like, even if I hadn't played knight c3, he probably saw it coming. But, no, so apparently my opponent was, like, 1700. Which was first shocking, because I thought I was playing in an over 1800 section. But it's also weird because he's like 1850 FIDE. And get this shit. The reason the master who was watching this game, when I played him in the last round, he told me, he was like, I was watching your round 2 game. I don't know if you noticed that. And I was like, yeah. And he said that he was watching my opponent because he thought he was a sandbagger, and has been watching him for some time or something. Which I don't think is true, like, based on the research I did. Like, that doesn't make sense. But he does do... Apparently, he just, like, withdraws from tournaments all the time if he's playing or winning. But I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Because why would you... I don't know. I think so. I spent so much time looking for that Blitz tournament, though, and it must have been an unrated Blitz tournament. But I know it happened. I know it happened. But anyways, here's the point. If I had spent the time thinking about, like, what happens after rook f2, if I had spent that time that I had spent thinking about all this shit on after rook f2, I would not have lost the game. So...